Hi, my name's Andy, and I'm a mission architect. And I want to tell you my story because it's probably a lot like yours. Except mine started on a boat in the middle of the Sea of Galilee. I was on a pilgrimage to Israel with 20 other guys. We were all ministry leaders who had maybe grown a little bit cynical. And this amazing experience was an attempt to reaffirm our calling. And so we're sitting in the boat looking over the shoreline where Jesus had reinstated Peter thousands of years before. And we listened to our spiritual guide reading that story as we took in the whole scene. Do you love me? Jesus asked Peter. Then feed my sheep. Well, man, it was a cool experience, and it felt like we were right there with them. And in that moment, the guide kind of let it sink in for a few minutes. And then he began to go around the boat to each one of us, one by one, and ask the same question. Jason, do you love me? Ben, do you love me? Kevin, do you love me? I think all of us wrestle with failure or confusion or frustration like Peter did. The pressure and expectations can be overwhelming. How do we even know if we're doing the right things? I never even wanted to be a minister, never. But I'd grown to love Jesus over time and began to say yes to him in small ways and then bigger ways. It was always painful because it was never what I wanted to do, but it's always just what I needed to do. And by the time that I was sitting in that boat, I had been a successful pastor for over 30 years. I had experience, I had opportunity, I had influence. There was nothing holding me back, except for something inside of me that was stirring. Was I really making a difference? Why wasn't I seeing lasting impact in my community? What was missing? Who's going to fix it? What's the point? You aren't the only one that's asking those kinds of questions. I didn't feel ashamed, just alone. That moment in that boat was really the climax of this pilgrimage that we were on. And you could feel the emotion beginning to rise as one by one he ran around each of my friends. And I heard them shout, yes, I'm in. It was a growing, we're getting fired up about the idea of feeding God's sheep. It felt like a locker room speech right before a championship game where everybody's ready to charge out on the field. Except me. When it got to be my turn, I couldn't speak. I had tears running down my face, a big lump in my throat. I was stuck. Everybody stared and just waited. It's still a little painful for me right now to look back on, but that was a turning point in my journey. I had absolute clarity about what God wanted from me. I knew he was calling me to disciple a new generation of leaders. And I knew I wouldn't be fulfilled doing anything else with my life. But even though I was leading a church, I couldn't see how I could make that fit into my life. How could I make it work? I knew God was going to have to step into my story. Now, this is part of the story where you'd like it to end, and they all lived happily ever after. But that's not what happened. In 6 months from the time that I was sitting in that boat, I lost everything. My career, my identity, my security, my confidence, even my sense of belonging, all gone. Now, I hope you never go through anything like that, but you probably will. Maybe you already have. The Bible calls it surrender, or dying to self. And like it or not, that's a part of the deal. Now, don't feel sorry for me at all. For the past 15 years, I have been discipling under-resourced leaders in the developing world. And let me tell you, I have loved every minute of it. I have. When you're surrounded by faithful people who are battling daily with injustice, it's kind of hard to feel sorry for yourself, right? And my life is the life God intended for me. It's not what I expected, but it's exactly what I needed. And I have flourished under God's leading. I wish I could tell you all the only God could do that stories that have transformed my life. But the only story that matters right now is your story. You see, my guess is that you're back in the boat and you're doing all you can for God, but still feeling stuck. I know how that feels. And I know how scary it feels to surrender, full surrender like this feels. Especially when you already feel like you're already all in. I get it. I understand that story. That part of your story, though, is the beginning of our stories, not the end. I have a friend back during that time who would always challenge me on my worst days. It was always the same thing. He'd say, Andy, I think you've got more dying to do. I hated that guy, but he was right. You and I, we've got more dying to do. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. My story's not special. It's how God always works. But I have helped hundreds of people find purpose and live on mission just by retelling my story. I hope it helps you too. You aren't alone. I've been there. I know how you feel, but we aren't finished yet.